Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Resumes. My name is Amalinda Rosito, pronouns she, her, hers, and I'm the Associate Director for Programming and Internal Relations with the UConn Center for Career Development. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's webinar. You should see your attendee interface on your computer desktop in the upper right-hand corner. You're listening in using your computer speaker system by default. If you would prefer to join in over the phone, just select telephone in the audio pane and the dial-in information will be displayed. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during this presentation. Since this is a previously recorded webinar, these questions will be emailed to me and answered within 3 business days. Note that a recording of today's webinar will be emailed to all webinar registrants within 24 hours. In this video, we'll cover resume basics, including what is a resume, types of resumes, and resume guidelines. We'll go through the required and recommended categories you should have on your resume. Then we'll get into bullet point statements covering what they are and how to write them. Lastly, we'll discuss what makes an effective resume. First, we'll go over the basics of a resume. A resume is a document that presents critical and relevant information to the reader, which could be an employer or a graduate school. It's typically a one-page document that highlights your educational background, experiences, accomplishments, skills, and interests, though it could be longer depending on your industry and depth of experiences. It's the most important document in marketing yourself professionally, so you want to make a good first impression. The goal of a resume is to get an interview, and the interview is what gets you the position. There are 3 types of resumes: a master resume, an industry-oriented resume, and a resume you tailor for specific positions. The length and content of each depends on the audience. Your master resume is a document that you use for yourself to keep track of everything you've done. Since it's just for you, it can be as long as you want or need it to be. From there, you can pick and choose the most relevant experiences to create a tailored 1- or 2-page resume for a specific position. An industry-oriented resume is a more narrow version of your master resume that is tailored to a specific industry or field. Your industry-oriented resume is still for yourself, but instead of including everything on your master resume, it includes just the most relevant content for that industry. From there, you can make small adjustments to your industry resume in order to tailor it to a specific position. When you are creating a resume, we have some general rules that you should follow. An undergraduate resume should be 1 page in length. In some fields and for graduate program applications, a 2-page resume may be standard, so students in these fields may have a longer resume. Margins should be 1/2 inch to 1 inch. The margins you choose should be the same on each side of the page. Your font should be within 10.5 and 12. This may vary for your name as well as section headings. You'll want to choose an easy-to-read font that is commonly found on most computers. This includes Times New Roman, Garamond, Arial, or Calibri. All of these are really good choices. Be consistent with formatting. Each experience and activity you include on your resume should include what we call the core 4. That includes the organization, location, position title, and dates of involvement formatted in months and years. Be consistent with using bold and italics. In the example shown, all of the organizations are bolded and position titles are italicized. Avoid abbreviations except states as well as industry-specific programs and certifications such as CPR and SPSS. Do not use templates, grids, or tables to format your resume. When using a template, you run the risk of your resume looking like another applicant's if they use the same template. Plus, templates are harder to customize if you want to include more tailored content. Additionally, many applications require online submissions and use computer software called applicant tracking systems to scan your resume for keywords. This software does not read templates, grids, or tables very well and might reject your resume simply because it can't read it. Lastly, your resume should not have any typos or errors. Do not rely solely on spell check. Now we'll go over the basic categories included on a resume. An employer will look at a resume anywhere from 6 to 30 seconds before putting it in a yes, no, or maybe pile. Therefore, it is really important to make a good first impression to maximize your chances of being sorted into the yes pile. Notice how this resume, the sections are easy to find, the information is well organized, and the document is pleasing to the eye. We'll go into each of these sections more in depth. Your contact information should be at the top of your document. List your full name in larger, bold font. Include your mailing address. Remember, only states are abbreviated in this section, so be sure to spell things out such as road, street, or drive. You may use either your campus address or your home address, but only pick one. Pick one that's easiest to reach you at or shows proximity to the opportunity you're applying to. For example, if your home address is Norwich, Connecticut, and you're applying to summer internships in Norwich, it wouldn't be beneficial for you to use your Stanford campus address. You also want to list your phone number and be sure to have an appropriate voicemail set up. List your email, and we recommend that you use your UConn campus email because it's professional and it also affiliates you with a top university. If you prefer to use a different email address, it should be professional, like the Gmail address listed in the example. If you have a LinkedIn profile, you can list your URL here. After your contact information, you may choose to include an objective statement. Though optional, an objective statement is a great way to really tailor your resume to a specific position and highlight relevant skills you possess and will demonstrate in your bullet point statements. Objective statements contain 3 parts. They list the position or title you are applying for, they include the field, industry, or company, and they list 2 to 3 transferable skills that you possess that are relevant to the position. These skills can generally be found in the position's description. Transferable skills are abilities, attributes, and personal qualities that someone possesses and can be used across industry lines. Some examples of transferable skills include administrative skills, interpersonal skills, leadership skills, and verbal and written communication skills. Because you can develop these skills at one experience, like volunteering at a hospital, and use them at another experience, like a summer internship or a job after graduation. The next section on your resume is the education section. Include University of Connecticut fully spelled out. Do not abbreviate it to UConn. List the location. Below that, include your degree, major, and graduation date in month and year. If you are in the ACES program, you may list your major as undeclared, and if you have one, you may list emerging academic interests below. Below your degree, you may also list your GPA out of a 4.0 scale, particularly if it is a 3.0 or above. You can also list any honors or scholarships. This is also where you may want to list education abroad experiences or relevant coursework. If you are a first-year student or sophomore, you may list your high school education information below the University of Connecticut. Be sure to list the school name, location, high school diploma as the degree, and your graduation month and year. This information should be removed by your junior year to emphasize your more relevant college experiences. After your education section, you may have one or more sections for experience and activities. You may include jobs, internships, volunteer work, club memberships, and other activities both paid and unpaid. Each experience should be formatted consistently, including the core 4, which as a reminder is the organization, location, your title, and the time period you were there in months and years. You may list present as the end date if you are still engaged in the experience. If this is a seasonal experience that you have held over multiple years, like a job that you worked during summer and breaks, you can put seasonal in parentheses next to the dates on the right. Below each experience, you may choose to include bullet point statements to highlight what you did at the job or the activity. Within each section, each experience and activity should be listed in reverse chronological order, meaning you will list the most recent position first. When ordering positions, order according to the end dates first. If you have multiple positions with the same end date, use the starting date to determine the order. For example, a position from May 2017 to August 2017 would come before a position from January 2017 to August 2017 because May 2017 is more recent than January 2017. The skills section lists hard skills or technical skills, which are defined as measurable. This could include computer, language, laboratory, as well as certifications. These types of skills can be demonstrated to an employer through a certification or test of ability. For instance, if an employer asks you to create a PowerPoint for a presentation, they will immediately know if you have the necessary skills based on your ability to complete the task. Your resume is your document that you can customize to fit your experiences and tailor for the position you're applying for. There are all sorts of other sections you can include, such as leadership experience, research experience, military experience, volunteer experience, practicum, or clinical experience. You can also include academic projects or interests. Once you have the formatting and sections of your resume, you'll want to focus on writing bullet point statements. Bullet point statements are 1 to 2 lines that describe what you accomplished or learned in a certain experience. They are one of the most crucial components of your resume because they allow the employer or the reader to understand how your experiences relate to the opportunity you're applying to. They also describe the quality of your work and showcase your transferable skills. There are some general guidelines you should follow when writing bullet point statements. They should start with a strong action verb. For example, fundraised, managed, designed. These are all examples of action verbs. They are all in third person and do not contain personal pronouns like I, me, my, and their. And pay attention to verb tense. Past experiences should be in the past, and experiences you're currently engaged in should be in present tense. We typically see mistakes in verb tense when students update their resumes after ending an experience and forgetting to change verb tense from present to past. You want to keep your bullet point statements to be 1 to 2 lines, and you want to limit your bullets to 1 to 5 per experience. This will depend on the relevance and depth of the experience. Therefore, you need to get your point across in a strong, concise manner. When writing, quantify whenever possible to include how much or how many so that the reader can get a sense of the scope of the task or responsibility. Not every bullet point statement can be quantified, but do quantify if it makes sense. For example, you could include the number of people you supervised or mentored, the number of projects or presentations you completed, the average number of customers you served, or the percentage of students admitted to an honors organization you were a member of. You will have bullet point statements on your master or industry-oriented resume, and then you may rework them to better fit your resume that's tailored for a specific position. Now I'm going to go over a 3-step bullet point statement activity. In our resume and cover letter guidebook, there's a worksheet that goes over this activity. You'll get an email after the webinar that includes a link to this guide, so you can try it on your own. We're going to talk more in depth about how to write bullet point statements. But first you need to think about the experience you are seeking and the required skills that you possess. This is important to helping you decide what to include in your bullet point statements. For example, Jonathan Husky is looking to work in the publishing industry in a position that needs creativity, critical thinking, editing, communication, and organizational skills. Jonathan will emphasize these skills in his bullet point statements. You can even use this as a starting point to create an objective statement based on the specific position and these skills. Next, Jonathan Husky needs to develop bullet point statements that demonstrate one or more of the transferable skills he listed above. Bullet point statements include 3 things: what, how, and why. Pretty simple. The what is the what did you do? What tasks or responsibilities did you complete? The example says read articles. The how, or how did you do it, are the skills that you use to complete the task or responsibility. Ideally, this part highlights a transferable skill you listed in step 1, but it could also be a technical skill or a hard skill, an industry-specific skill, or a specific procedure or protocol. The example says editing, communicating, writing, proofreading, and analyzing. I would consider communicating, writing, and analyzing to be transferable skills, while editing and proofreading are industry-specific skills in Jonathan Husky's publishing industry. The why is why did you do it? What was the result or the importance of the task you held? How did it lead to a positive outcome for the organization? The example says to help staff have accurate information and make sure articles were clearly understandable. When you do this activity on your own, you will want to think about an experience you would like to write or improve a bullet point statement for. Then brainstorm some task or responsibility for the what. List some of the skills you used for the how, and then write the importance of the outcome of the task for the why. Once you have your what, how, why components, you can combine them to form a whole bullet point statement. You can see that Jonathan Husky wrote several drafts before getting to a 4-star bullet point statement. Looking at the examples, his first 2-star bullet is read and edit articles to help staff write good content. This statement is very simple and does not include many details. His 3-star bullet is proofread articles and edit errors to ensure content is easily understood by the reader. This statement provides more detail, particularly in the terms of why. His 4-star bullet is proofread articles and provide staff with edits ensuring accuracy and high standards in writing. This bullet is the strongest. It includes the most detail for what, how, and why while still being concise. When you do this activity on your own, you will want to combine your what, how, and why from step 2 and write a complete bullet point statement. Remember to start with a strong action verb. Now we're going to look at some examples of bullet point statements and ways to make them better. The first example says, conducted heavy recruitment doubling membership in the organization. Now the reader might have some follow-up questions, including, what is the person recruiting for and how did they recruit members? How much recruitment is heavy recruitment? And how much is double membership? Doubling members from 2 to 4 is a different scale than doubling from 25 to 50. The next example says, responsible for mentoring 6 students to help improve academic performance. This bullet could get rid of responsible for and just start with mentor. You don't have a lot of time or space, so get to the point. How did this person mentor? Did they meet one-on-one or in a group? How often did they meet? How much did the student's academic performance improve? The last example says, develop presentations about study abroad for first-year experience courses. How many presentations? How long were the presentations? What were the format of these presentations? Study abroad is a big topic. What specifically about study abroad did the presentations cover? How many classes or people will the presentation reach? You can see that initially these bullet point statements look good, but they could be better by including more detail. Think about this when you are writing your own bullet point statements. So why is it important to have an effective resume? And how can you make your resume more effective? A well-written and formatted resume tells an employer a lot about your professionalism and improves the chances for gaining an interview. It is your responsibility to demonstrate how your academic, extracurricular, and work experiences connect to every specific position you apply to. Look at the position description and search for clues, use keywords, and draw connections. It is important to remember that a successful resume must demonstrate experiences that match what the employer's needs are. Tailoring your resume helps employers see that you match their needs, and the job description will help you tailor your resume. When you are applying to a position, take some time to read the job description and highlight or circle keywords and skills. Take a moment to read the job description and think about what keywords and skills you would highlight or circle and include on a tailored resume or cover letter for this position. What does the job description emphasize? In this example, you might highlight writing, editing, communication skills, web development programs and social media, teamwork, flexibility, accountability, and follow-through on commitments, which the last two speak to organizational and time management skills. If you were applying for this position, you would want to demonstrate to the employer that you possess these experiences, qualities, and skills in your resume. Choose a format that highlights the most relevant experiences. Highlight transferable skills in the objective statement and your bullet point statements. Include technical skills and hard skills in your skills section. After this webinar, you can continue developing your document by taking a look at our resume and cover letter guide. You will get an email after this webinar with a link to the guide, or you can pick up a copy in our office. You can also visit our website at career.uconn.edu to see even more resources to help you with your document, including Career on Demand. You can schedule an appointment for a resume or cover letter critique, and you can also meet with a career coach to discuss ways to find opportunities to gain experiences and build skills for your resume and cover letter. As a reminder, you can still submit questions through the questions pane in your attendee control panel. These questions will be emailed to me and answered within 3 business days. Thank you for attending today's webinar. Once you leave today's webinar, you will be directed to an evaluation for the presentation, and we would appreciate it if you would complete that and provide your feedback. You will also receive a follow-up email within 24 hours with a link to view a recording of today's webinar. Thank you for joining us today and have a great rest of your day.